Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, break down complex topics, and give you the essential knowledge you need. Today, we're tackling a big one, Britain's rail network. It's something that affects millions and, well, it's seen huge changes, especially just in the last 3 years.
It really has.
Okay, so let's get into it. We've gathered sources covering pretty much its entire modern history, post-war nationalization, right up to today's, well, let's call them challenges.
Yeah.
Our mission, to figure out how this vital system got so fragmented, why things keep changing, and what the future might actually look like. Expect some surprising facts, too.
Absolutely. It's quite a story, isn't it? You have these grand plans and things don't quite turn out as expected, and the same problems seem to pop up again and again.
Right.
And what's fascinating, I think, is how decisions made decades ago directly impact the trains you might ride today, the tickets you buy.
Yeah, the cost, definitely.
Exactly. So we'll try to unravel the why behind the headlines, make sense of it all.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning then. Before British Rail, what did it even look like? Just lots of different lines.
Pretty much, yeah. From the 1800s right up until 1947, it was all built by hundreds of private companies.
Hundreds.
Yes. So you got really rapid growth, especially during the Industrial Revolution, but it was, well, chaotic, uncoordinated.
Right.
You'd often have overlapping routes, different companies serving the same city, sometimes even different track gauges, all competing locally.
So, a bit of a Wild West scenario then.
You could say that. It served local needs, sure, but for a national network, it was messy.
I can imagine. And then came a huge shift, right? After the war.
Exactly. Post-World War II, the government stepped in. The Transport Act, 1947, led to nationalization in 1948.
Okay.
And that brought all the main lines together under British Railways. The idea was to streamline things, coordinate services, rebuild what was damaged during the war.
Yeah.
Unified control.
A massive change.
A huge moment, yes.
Yeah. And then, maybe moving on a bit, this is where it gets really interesting for many people. The Beeching cuts. That name still resonates, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Richard Beeching. He was brought in the early 60s. British Railways was losing a lot of money.
Okay, so it's about cost cutting.
Primarily, yes. His reports, 63 to 65, were pretty ruthless. He identified, get this, 2,363 stations and 5,000 miles of track to be closed.
5,000 miles, that's enormous.
It was. About 30% of the network's route miles just gone.
Yeah.
And the impact was huge. Whole communities were effectively cut off from the rail network.
Yeah, you hear stories about that even now. It really reshaped the country.
Definitely. Changed how people traveled, where they could live and work.
Okay, so that's a huge reduction. But the story doesn't stop there. Another massive pivot in the 90s, right? Back the other way.
Yes, exactly. Under John Major's government, the Railways Act 1993 paved the way for privatization. Between 94 and 97, British Rail was broken up.
How did that work? What did they split up?
They separated the infrastructure. The tracks, signals, stations, initially run by a company called Railtrack, from the actual train services.
Right.
The services were franchised out. Private companies, the train operating companies, or TOCs, bid to run specific routes for a set period.
Okay, and this was all overseen by someone.
Yes, the Office of Passenger Rail Franchising initially, and other bodies later on.
So what was the big idea? Why do that after decades of nationalization?
Well, the theory, the hope, was that bringing in private companies in competition would cut costs, improve services, make things more efficient, market forces, you know.
And did it? Because the headlines often suggest, well, the opposite.
That's the irony, isn't it? What actually happened, according to many sources, was more complexity. You had duplicated management, really complicated contracts, and, crucially, arguments about underinvestment in the track itself by Railtrack.
Which led to problems.
Big problems. Punctuality suffered, fares went up, especially unregulated ones, and the government actually ended up paying more in subsidies than before.
Wow. So the exact opposite of the intention.
In many ways, yes. It raises that big question. Did privatization actually achieve its stated goals? The evidence is very mixed, to say the least. Many argue it failed.
So after privatization created this fragmented system, how was it actually managed day to day under that franchising model before the latest changes?
Okay, so the TOCs, the train companies, would bid for these franchises. Contracts usually lasted maybe 7 to 15 years.
Right.
In their bids, they'd promise certain service levels, maybe invest in new trains, and they had to stick to some fare regulations. The Office of Rail and Road, the ORR, kept an eye on safety and performance.
And fares, you mentioned some regulation.
Some were, yes. Things like season tickets, standard off-peak tickets. They usually had caps set by the government. But many others, especially those peak time single tickets or advance fare.
The really expensive ones.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Were largely left to the market. Less regulation there.
Okay. Which brings us almost up to date. Because now there's this big new plan we're hearing about, the William Shapps Plan, Great British Railways, GBR. What's actually changing now?
Right. So the William Shapps white paper came out in May 2021, and it basically says scrap the old franchising model entirely.
Scrap it, okay. And replace it with?
Replace it with GBR, Great British Railways. This would be a new state-owned body. The key idea is integration, bringing the infrastructure, like the tracks and the operations, the trains, back together.
So managing it all?
Well, managing the system, yes. They plan to use a concession model. GBR would hold the overall responsibility, set the timetable, set the fares, collect the revenue.
Ah, okay. So GBR takes the financial risk.
Exactly. And then they contract private companies to actually run the trains day to day, but under much tighter specifications and control than the old franchises.
So private companies still run trains, but GBR is in charge.
That's the plan. The aim is simpler fares, a national system, unified timetables, better coordination, maybe one website or app for everything, a single point of contact for you as a passenger.
Sounds like a move back towards integration then, in a way.
Definitely. A big step back towards a more unified system. Although its full launch keeps getting pushed back, now looking like 2027.
Right.
But we are seeing moves already. The new Labour government brought Southwestern Railway back into public ownership recently.
Ah, interesting.
And there are plans for about 9 more franchises to follow suit by 2027, moving towards that GBR model even before it's fully set up. So change is happening.
Okay, let's shift to something passengers feel very directly. Cost. You mentioned fares earlier. Is UK train travel expensive or cheap? What do the sources say?
Overwhelmingly, the sources describe the fare structure as broken and expensive.
Broken how?
Well, those unregulated fares, like a peak single from London to Manchester, can easily be over a £100 return. Advance tickets can be cheaper, sure, but you often need to book them weeks, maybe 6 weeks in advance. Not always practical.
No, definitely not. And what about commuters? People traveling every day?
That's where it really bites. A yearly season ticket, say, from a London suburb into Zone 1, you could be looking at over £5,000.
Ouch.
Yeah. For many people, that's easily more than 20% of their salary. Even the regulated fares, the ones with caps, they still tend to rise faster than general inflation, maybe 3–4% a year compared to 2–3% CPI.
So it definitely feels expensive to people here. How does it compare internationally, say, in Europe?
When you measure fares as a percentage of the average income, the UK consistently comes out on top.
The most expensive.
Generally, yes. Compared to places like Germany or France, which has more regulated national fare systems, sometimes regional passes like that 9-ticket Germany tried.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It tends to be cheaper relative to wages over there.
Yeah.
So yes, UK fares are comparatively high.
Okay. Another big pain point recently. Strikes. We've seen so many. What's driving all this industrial action? What are the root causes?
It's really a combination of factors. 3 main things stand out. First, pay and the cost of living.
Right. Inflation's been high.
Exactly. After years of wages basically stagnating and then inflation hitting over 10% in 2022-23, unions pushed hard for pay rises that actually keep up.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, job security and changes to roles. There have been proposals to remove guards from some trains, close ticket offices, bring in more driver-only operation.
UDO, yeah.
Right. And that sparks real fears about safety, but also about jobs just disappearing.
And understandable fears.
And third, it's about working practices.
Mm.
Things like longer hours, changes to shift patterns, pension reforms. All of this has fueled anger among the main unions, RMT, ASLF, TSSA.
It sounds like a perfect storm, really. And the scale of these strikes has been massive, hasn't it?
Huge. Since June 2022, we've seen over 40,000 rail workers walk out at various times. It's the biggest wave of industrial action on the railway since 1989.
Wow, and has it hit everywhere equally?
Interestingly, no. The disruption has been felt much more severely in England.
Why is that?
Well, the sources suggest that the Conservative government ministers at the time were reluctant to allow serious negotiations until after the 2024 election. Whereas in Scotland and Wales, the devolved governments managed to reach deals with the unions much earlier, late 2022 in Scotland, mid-2023 in Wales.
So a different approach depending on where you are.
A very different outcome for passengers and workers, yeah. Hashtag government response and future vision.
Okay, so we have these major challenges: high costs, a fragmented system struggling to reform, and widespread strikes. What's the government actually doing about it? Both short-term fixes and longer-term plans.
Well, for the immediate issue of strikes, they've brought forward proposals for minimum service level laws.
What does that mean?
The idea is that even on a strike day, a certain basic level of service would have to run. It's controversial, obviously.
Not bad. Anything else?
Yes. They've also introduced tougher rules for strike ballots. Unions now need a 50% turnout, and 40% of all eligible members must vote yes for a strike to be legal.
So making it harder to call strikes in the future.
That's the intention, yes.
Okay, those are the immediate responses. What about the bigger picture, fixing the underlying problems?
That's where the William Shapps plan and GBR come back in. That move to concessions, simpler contracts, simpler fares, that's the core long-term reform strategy.
Right, the integration plan.
Exactly. And alongside that, you have the nationalization push we mentioned, with labor bringing some franchises back into public control directly.
Southwestern, yeah.
And potentially more to come. Plus, there's still significant investment plan for the tracks themselves. The integrated rail plan committed $96 billion.
Huge money. For what?
New lines like HS2, although Phase 2 is under review, which adds uncertainty, and Northern Powerhouse Rail, plus other upgrades across the network.
So if all this happens, GBR, investment, new tech, what's the grand vision? What should UK public transport look like in, say, 10 or 20 years?
The vision they paint is integrated, green, and digital.
Okay, break that down. Integrated.
Think seamless ticketing. Like the Oyster card or contactless payments you have in London with TfL, but rolled out nationwide. One system for your whole journey.
That would be good. Green.
A target for a net zero rail network by 2050. That means more electrification of lines, getting rid of diesel trains, maybe using hydrogen trains on some rural routes where electrification is too expensive.
Hydrogen trains, interesting. And digital.
Better information, apps, easier booking, maybe real-time updates integrated across the whole system. Also, we're seeing a push for more local connections. Light rail, trams, tram trains.
Like in Manchester or Sheffield.
Exactly. Schemes like those in Birmingham, South Yorkshire, potentially filling some gaps left by beaching, connecting communities again at a local level.
It sounds ambitious. Are there good examples elsewhere? Can the UK learn from other countries that maybe do this better?
Oh, definitely. Look at France's SNCF. They have their own issues, including strikes, but under a single unified brand and management, they have seen improvements in passenger numbers and punctuality.
Okay.
Or Germany's Deutschbahn. They use regional transport authorities, Verkehrsverbund. They coordinate fares and planning across trains, buses, trams within a region. That kind of pooling could offer real lessons for integrating transport here.
So models exist.
Yes, valuable insights are out there.
Okay.
Hashtag tag outro.
So where does this leave us? And more importantly, where does it leave you, the passenger? It really feels like Britain's rail network is at another major turning point, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Decades of these stop-start reforms.
Yeah.
From all those private lines to nationalization, then privatization splitting everything up, and now this push towards GBR integration again. It's been quite the journey.
A bumpy one, you might say.
You could. And you've got passengers paying often a lot of money for a service that can feel unreliable or patchy. While at the same time, the workforce feels undervalued, leading to all this industrial action. It raises that key question. Can these new reforms, GBR, actually create a system that works better for everyone?
Yeah, will this time be different? The next few years seem critical. You've got GBR trying to establish itself, new technologies coming in, travel patterns still settling after the pandemic.
It's all in flux.
It really will decide if the UK can finally move from, well, sometimes travel chaos towards something smoother and more coherent.
So thinking about everything we've covered, what are the big questions left hanging for you? For me, it's things like, can GBR really simplify fares and control costs effectively? Or is it just adding another layer?
Good question.
Can prices become genuinely affordable while still balancing the books? And perhaps crucially, how can trust be rebuilt between the government, the operators, and the unions after everything that's happened?
Yeah, rebuilding trust seems massive.
Definitely a lot to think about, and certainly a space to watch very closely in the years ahead.
Thanks for watching the video.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them in the comments below. If there's a specific topic you'd like us to cover next time, do let us know.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And if you found this one helpful, make sure to share it with others too.
See you in the next video.